Instant Rescue Warriors.
Welcome back to Retro Wednesday at the Tidarium Hangar. This is Mike, and today I want to talk to you about the 1982 Revell Power Lords toy line. This is one of the most interesting designs of any figures that you're going to find in this toy line. There's just kind of crazy and out of this world. We're going to talk about everything in this toy line, the figures, the vehicles, the beast machines, the playset, all that. Coming up. First off, with Power Lords, there was no TV show, but they did have a comic book series here, and so I think that was kind of what helped drive it, but mostly the fact that it was just a toy in the toy aisle is what drove this toy line, and the sales, of course, weren't very great. In the 80s, you kind of needed to have a good toy line to make it run and make it become a hit, and this, the comic books, I guess they helped. So we're going to start out with Adam Power, who is the leader, and size scale, he's smaller than the classified, so this is kind of where he scales, but like way bigger than back in the day with the 3.75 inch figures. And I'm trying to get Jinx to stand up as tall as she can, but you can kind of get an idea of scale here with this, because this was not following the standard 3.75, and so a lot of toy lines did their own thing. We're going to see a lot of variation in sizes and shapes as we see more of these figures.
I am Lord Power, leader of the Lords. Griptog and Rhaegoth are attacking. We must help Psydot defend Balkan Rock.
Now, Adam Powers pretty simply comes with his gun, and I had to put some tape in it so he could hold it, but this is one of those things, like out of this toy line as a kid, all I had really was this figure, Adam Power. And he has a strange gimmick, and let's see if I can get it to work right. If you push the button, he flips around. Yep, it works. And so here he is in his Power Lord. He's powered up. So it's kind of strange. What the odd part about this is that he does have his face on the back of his back there, and he does have the bottom of his hands. But it was kind of cool, and I always was kind of thinking when I was a kid, how could we have done this to where you don't see the face on the back of his face? But interesting nonetheless. And it's one of those things that I remember this very well because I had this one, and this one, it was interesting, and I was kind of hoping that they could have done maybe a better job with it. But let's go ahead and take a look at the articulation. So you do have all of this articulation, 90 all the way around. You go pretty far with the elbow joint, the shoulder joint, and the elbow joint, and all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty good. Head, obviously flips around. And then the waist, as you're not really going to pose it or anything. And then 90 right here, 90 right there. The foot even has articulation. So for the time, for 1982, this is a tremendous amount of articulation. And a lot of these figures carry this same level of articulation now. I am having trouble with him standing up. Maybe I should put some polish in those ankles or something. Let's get on to the next one. So next up we have Shay, the Queen of Power. And she's interesting. She's very similar to Adam Power in design. Now she stands up very well because she's got double feet, and we'll see that here in just a minute. Now she does come with this headpiece here, which is kind of cool, and a cape. She has it's a formed plastic cape, and she has kind of a half a bra on, and she's got like a bikini going on there. And she has this strange weapon. I'm not sure what exactly it does, but there it is. So it's kind of cool looking figure, but let's see. I've got another one so I don't have to take all that off, so we can kind of see everything about her. And she has pretty much the same level of articulation as Adam Power and does the same thing as Adam Power. So from this side, she's humanoid, and then I guess you're going to call upon her power and just flip around. There's not a built-in spring that I feel in either one of mine. Maybe they're both shot or something, but there's no button either, so I guess she just turns. And maybe the fact that the more accessories they pack in, the less gimmicks they work into the figure. I don't know, but I never remembered seeing this as a kid. Like, I saw the Adam Power, and you would think, well, I kind of thought there was like a whole line of just more people that look like Adam Power, and well, here she is. This kind of her. Now, you could just have her backwards and be this whole other person. So, like, for me, I don't really think that the whole idea of flipping around was what the whole goal was with this one. I think it was literally, I just completely transformed into this. So, and it with no TV show or anything, I don't really know a whole lot about the lore, but it's still kind of a fun figure. Next up, we got Psydot the Supreme. Now, I don't really know why there's two versions. I'll show the other version here in a second, and they're just variations and accessories. But looking at this guy, he's got a crazy little tongue, and his jaw opens, so that's his action feature. This is his whole action feature, and he's always smiling. Like, he never has a bad day. I keep checking, and every day he's still smiling. So he does have a different design. He's this gigantic tail, and he has removable armor, and then on the armor you can clip on his gun and his binoculars. So this is kind of interesting. Just, it's so different, and it's just weird, but it looks good. And the way the gun is molded to fit right there, and his binoculars are interesting also, and they actually come in two different colors, a silver and a black. But let's bring in the other version of this guy. He also comes with a vac metallized that's strange, it's vac metallized armor. So I don't know why there's two. Maybe it was like a special pack where he was packed in, and everything else looks about the same on the figures except for that metal armor. But anyway, cool looking figure. I don't really know what more he could do, and I think this is it for the good guys, and the rest is we're just gonna be looking at bad guys from this point out. Here we go with Arcus, the evil dictator, and he is probably the most common figure. I see a lot of this guy out there, and so I have a couple of them, and just they come in lots or whatever. And I realized after a bit that you can clip his two guns, which maybe I have them backwards. You can clip his two guns to his lower legs. Looks like I've got him backwards. He's shooting himself instead of shooting someone else. So he has the exact same opening in his arms as he does in his legs. So, and they may even be the exact same part molded to save money on molds and stuff. I don't know. But it's interesting. He's real delicate and fragile. Real fragile. So I see this thing broken all the time. But he does have a fun little gimmick. I don't know if it's fun, but his wings flap when you push the button. So, and when they're this old, that little gimmick doesn't quite work as well as you probably like. But there it is. Interesting with this big giant eye on the side here. Kind of does look like a bug. And there is some paint on him too. Like, that's quite a bit, like all these white dots and specks of paint. So it looks pretty cool too. And a nice purple and a color breakup with a red. And you do have articulation in these hands. So these designs are so different. Just out of this world. I guess someone just had their entire imagination. Hey, whatever you can think of. And I know that they took some of it out of a book, someone else's designs and stuff, but still, overall, I was impressed with how interesting these designs are. Now, I do have a few of these file cards here, so it kind of shows you what all they come with, what all their accessories are, and those kinds of things. So it's kind of cool. I don't know why they only show one of these, because I know they come with two, or every one that I've seen comes with two, but it shows the wings flap, so when the button is activated. So Arcus, evil dictator, hatched at the center of an unknown red birth sun. Next up is Rhaegoth, and this guy, Rhaegoth, he is the Goon of Doom, and I think that he does look pretty cool. He's interesting. He's got this, like, shiny chest piece sticker on there, and that feels so 80s. So 80s. It was early 80s. But looking at this, he's, I guess, supposed to hold his gun. I've seen it held sideways or straight up. He does not hold it very well, and I don't feel like his hand is loose. His hand feels nice and tight, but it's still, he struggles to hold that gun. But his arms are really long, like they almost hang all the way down to his feet, and so that's interesting. And they do kind of, he kind of flips around with his gimmick, and I can't get it to work right, so you're supposed to turn him, it clicks, and then you push the button, and he flips around like that to fight or something, but something's worn out. Anyway, still an interesting, cool one. The Goon of Doom, I just think he's just kind of the lower ranks guy. Maybe you have a bunch of these as an army builder, troop builder maybe? Next up, we're going to look at Griptog, the four-fisted brute, and here's his card, the four-fisted brute, and his head turns 360 to depict a different face. So that's his feature right there. So the Series 1 figure. So let's see the noggin. So you flip it around, and there's his other face. So he has this removable sash piece, and it's kind of like a rubbery goods there. And he has this club, or I don't know, it's a wand or something like this. So he's four-fisted because, let's see how this works. He has these two hands, and they're jointed on the elbow. So that's how that works, and it's really strange. So you have to kind of move it around to get him to hold his item, and he doesn't really have hands. He's got four fists that work like that. It's strange, but it works. It actually works. And then he kind of looks like he's got, I don't know, horse legs, because the way that they're designed to look like that. And then he's got huge feet that are three-pronged feet that just gives him a lot of stability. I appreciate that when I'm building a display, to have figures that are stable and they can stand on their own. That's Griptog. So next up on the list is Spyzor. Now, all the other ones were Series 1. I'm guessing this is what they call Series 2. No one really breaks it down, but these seem to be later in the wave, later in the line, and harder to track down. A little more expensive. But he's got a couple of different features. First off, he's the tallest because he can disguise himself, and he is what they call him, the Deadly Deceiver. And his waist goes down, and his legs go down, and he can shrink to this size. But I think it's more impressive to see him on his taller size. He does come with this, I don't know what it is, an axe. So something like an axe, just something that could just mutilate you with a bunch of spikes out of it. Now, his face, I think he has 3 or 4 faces. So there's that one. Then you push this down and pull it back up. There's that one. And then there's that one, which kind of looks like, oh, I'm a nice guy. Look at me, I'm a nice guy. And then there's like, oh, I'm clueless. I don't know what's going on. And then it's back to, this is me. So really, it's cool, interesting, and as you know, a kid just playing with toys, this would be a fun toy for the 80s, simply because you can have different configurations, different setups, and it's got some sort of action feature in it. And the rest of the articulation is pretty much similar to the rest of the figures. He even has, he even has articulation in the knee, even though it adjusts like that. So let's get on to the next one. So the next one in what I call Series 2, which I guess it's Series 2, is Torque, the Turning Terror. So he comes with this trident looking thing, which maybe it's a pickaxe looking thing. It's cool. It actually matches his hand. It's got a bigger section and a smaller section that matches 3 fingers. So that works. That's cool. He's yellow. This one's probably the shortest of the bunch, and he's just real weird looking. Again, the designs are just so out of this world and so crazy that it's strange. What does he do? Well, he's got this mouth, and on this side he's got this face, and that's him. But it flips around, and he's got like a bird-looking face on this side, and he's different looking. So it's hard to keep him to stay straight. That's still interesting idea. You got some things going on there. Of course, kids are probably going to do this. Yeah, now that you do that, it holds together better, huh? The more you flip it around, the tighter it gets, I guess. So that's cool looking, the way they have this all set up. And his arms and his legs are about the same size. Really strange, really cool, out of this world. Again, one of the Series 2, and a little bit harder to find. Alright, so next up we have Drench the Savage Soaker, and he's a very interesting looking character. He kind of looks like his face of an alligator in there, and he's got his eyes all bugged out. That looks kind of cool. And then he has this gold shoulder pad kind of thing going on, and he's got gold all back here. So all kinds of paint apps all over this guy, just looking really cool, really crazy, and a ton of articulation. He does have this big old double gun, 2 different color hands. So he's got like a gold glove in his normal color hand, and this is really an interesting, like, double gun thing going on, holding in those hands there. And he has 3 legs, so really a lot going on. Does look cool with the 3-leg stance. It's a little tricky to get him to stand, though. Although he has 3 legs, you think it'd be easier. They're kind of loose, and I did try to kind of do the joints with him, but there he is standing on his 3 legs. He does have a gimmick, which I do not have the backpack. I thought I had the backpack. I really did, and I probably do somewhere, and I just put it somewhere stupid. But it plugs in here. You fill it with water, he plugs in here, and you push this, and it makes it squirt out the front. So, again, this is a Series 3, so he's a little bit harder to track down. Not that hard. I mean, you can find him, but finding his little parts and stuff, his backpack and his gun, that's becomes the challenge when you start getting into collecting stuff. And we'll see that with the next one. So the last figure is Back Attack. And this guy is probably the rarest, hardest to find of all of them for some reason. And you can still find the figure. It's just finding him unbroken and with all of his accessories. And that's the hard part. So I don't have everything. I'm actually just missing 2 parts. I'm missing what makes him Back Attack with his spiky... It looks like a rubber, kind of a rubber brush for a dog or something like that. But it's formed to be his back piece, kind of like a cape. And then you push this button and it shoots it off. And then he comes with a couple of cool things. Well, first of all, his head, he's got this long snout, and they say that it goes 360. Even though he's got it long, they angle his neck to where it goes all the way around, no problem. Then he also comes with this gun. Now, this gun is cool, not because the gun itself is really all that cool, but you could plug it in right here. It's got like a holstering ability. In 1982, these people thought of some really cool stuff back then. And then he's kind of got this shield plate on his chest. And then now this thing here is real fragile, and so it's broken, and I kind of fixed it and glued it back. But if I turn it or anything, it breaks and falls off. But it opens up here like a claw and stuff. I don't know why this piece is just so ridiculously fragile. But it's hard to find, and then I'm missing a hook. It's got the same thing, except it's a hook. Now, I'm going to have a picture of all this missing stuff up for you guys. Now, down below, he has these spiky rear pieces, and they're not the same, too, so that's strange, too. So, there's one for the left and one for the right. So, that's an interesting back attack. Maybe he can kick someone. Back attack. Same articulation, of course, as Atom Power. I see a lot of these with broken ankles and where the feet aren't on it and all that kind of stuff. So, that's some interesting figure. He's kind of cool, and that's Back Attack. Alright, so taking a quick look at the vehicles, the first one I want to talk about is the power ship. It's the Alien Cruiser, and they say it's 15 inches long because they count this fin back here as part of the length in it, and it is kind of interesting looking. It's kind of cool. It is red, and it has like some black detail for, I guess, the engine, one of the engines, and it looks like it's almost organic in a way, the way it's all set up, and it's got some stuff going on right there. This front piece here pops up. We're going to show that. That's the big gimmick of it. Everything has to have a gimmick. So, coming around to the side here, these little pieces here, I think they fall off pretty easy. So, and then this piece here pops out somehow. Let's see if I can figure that out real quick. So, there's these little levers in here. If you push this in, it pops out. So, that's how that works. Actually, I've had this and I never even messed with it. That's kind of cool that it does that. And it does one more party trick, and that party trick is when you push this other lever on the inside, it looks like a gear shift. That pops up and reveals this chrome, vac metallized chrome gun inside. So kind of cool, full of play features. Interesting type of design to it, and I don't know exactly how much fun it is. I kind of think this is a great spot to store weapons, though. So weapon storage in your vehicle, and you can put 2 drivers, well, a driver and a passenger, so 2 figures in it. Lots of fun, and great for display. I use this mostly for display. Next up, we have the Spyzor, and it looks kind of like a Sea-Doo kind of thing, in a way, maybe. I mean, 80s, that kind of water sports was kind of fun back then. Now, it does a few things. First of all, you're supposed to have a projectile here and a projectile there, and I don't have those projectiles. So I thought, well, it's complete enough because it has the battery cover. And I was like, wait a second, it has a battery cover? Well, if it has a battery cover, it needs to do something. And yes, it does. If it worked, it goes. It just has a motor to go. So, but it's still kind of cool. It's interesting. And I don't have it so much myself. So there's another one. It looks like they just made almost the exact same thing called the Power Patroller. So I'll put a picture up of the Power Patroller, and it's red. So that's the other one. I don't know. They make some very similar stuff, it looks like. But anyway, this thing here, it does have some nice detail, nice colors. It's kind of cool. And if I take this guy out with his arm falling off, oh no. Danger, danger, Will Robinson. Okay, and you can kind of see the inside of all this and what's going on with it. So, and I think that like this is a place you could clip an extra. Maybe there's 2 missiles that came with it. You can clip an extra one in there or something. So that would be kind of cool. Don't know much. I don't have all of these complete. There's the on and off switch with batteries in it, and it doesn't work. I can take it apart and kind of clean all the contacts and make sure. I could probably get it to work. You probably just got to get in there and spin that motor when you have all the contacts and all that kind of stuff. The last vehicle here is Trigor, and it's Trigor because he's supposed to have like an extra leg and wheel in the front there, and he does have some cool stuff like this chomping action. I would think that there's like a lever you can use for that. Maybe that's connected to this whole leg I'm missing and stuff. And so he also has like a seat cover and a steering wheel that I'm missing. But overall, it's kind of cool. It's interesting. I got this thing for like $10. It was real cheap because it's broken and missing everything. I just wanted something, and it fits in my space. Like actually, if it was all there and it had that third leg, then I wouldn't be able to put a figure in it on display. So I just keep this broken one for display. I'm probably not even gonna go after. I've seen lots of complete ones. They're not that expensive. They're not that hard to get, but it's just kind of a fun thing to have in your display. Okay, 3 more things I want to talk about so we can say we've talked about the whole toy line. And first off is Beast Machines. So there are 4 Beast Machines, and they all look like 12-inch or 1/6 scale figures mounted on top of a tank. And they do not look like they belong in this toy line whatsoever. But then again, you could argue that for every single character. They don't look like they belong in the toy line because they all look different, unique, and strange. But this whole group of 4 are strange. So the one that looks like He-Man is Sabor. Then there's Evil, Thrash, and Warbot. Whatever, Warbox. Anyway, interesting part of the toy line that I will probably be passing on. They're huge, and they won't fit in this display that I set up for these guys. Next up is the playset, the Vulcan Rock, which I would like to get my hands on one of those. But again, I don't know where I would display it because I would like to display these playsets if I have them. And it does kind of remind me of the Castle Grayskull. Now, Castle Grayskull split open. This splits open. Castle Grayskull had 2 levels. This has 2 levels. So it's an interesting design, and it looks like the Castle Grayskull came out around the same time. They might have even come out the same year. I gotta go look that up. But that's a cool, full of features, just so much. Those ladders look cool, and just everything about that thing. So it's an interesting playset. It might even be a cooler playset than Castle Grayskull. Once you add up all the different features and everything it can do, you can actually have interactivity on the outside of the playset. And the last point is this line tried to come back. The 4 Horsemen did a few figures, and then they tried to do a second wave, and they tried to crowdfund a second wave that never saw light of day. They probably should have just made them, and they would have sold eventually. But I think that they kind of went wrong because they put them in the 3.75 inch scale or 4 inch scale instead of the same scale we had back in the day, or maybe even bigger. I mean, I know we were going bigger, but this was so long ago. I think it was like 08 that they did it. It was kind of before the 6-inch craze reached its full potential. So maybe if they would have made them in the 6-inch though, then it would have survived because the 6-inch would have been closer to this scale and it would have been newer and bigger. But who knows? Maybe it will have a resurgence down the road, and they do have all those designs already. So that might be a thing. So I hope you enjoyed this Retro Wednesday look at Power Lords from Revell in 1982. This is a really interesting toy line. It is full of really cool designs, and I'm surprised actually how cool these designs are, how different these designs are, and how in a way they still kind of hold up 40 years later. Do you know about this toy line? Do you have some of these? Did you have some of these? Or were you like me and you only had Atom Power? Or you saw Atom Power and that's all you remember? Like and subscribe, Trinity Maker out.
Volcan Rock, Atom Power, and Arcus from the Power Lords collection, each sold separately. New from Revell.